Hi, I'm Lance Lambert. Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Vehicle Show. We're in Temecula, California at the Harry Clark Collection. He calls it the Classic Promenade. It is a very nice collection of cars and a very nice facility. You're going to meet Harry and see some of his great cars. And as a matter of fact, here's Harry right here. How you doing?
Hi, Lance.
All right. Thanks for coming out and letting us come out here. This is beautiful, and it's not summer yet, but it feels like it.
Oh, I know. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's great.
Southern California.
Yeah, it's perfect. How'd this come about?
You know, I've been collecting since I was, 15 years old, and it steadily grew as I was able to get more cars. Over a period of 25 years, being very active in the hobby, I decided to actually turn it into a business too.
Do you like a lot of British, or do you like a lot of American, or you just, if it's got four wheels, you like it?
Well, yeah, pretty much. If it's something that's cool and collectible, I just can't turn it down, if you will. Also from a business standpoint, the collectors have, there are collectors that can afford a $200,000 car, and then collectors that are spending $7,500. Mm-hmm. And so, from my perspective, I want to deal with all sorts of collectors. Yeah.
Okay. Well, right back behind you, I see a nice shiny green MG. Let's go take a look at that.
Oh, wonderful.
That's a good place to start. All right. You made reference to the fact that you can buy $7,500 cars that are really cool, or $200 and way beyond that. The 67 MGB sitting here, one of the things that I love about the hobby is this is a great car. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money. The average Joe can come along and the doors will open at any car show for them. They'll have a great time.
Absolutely, absolutely. As a matter of fact, when I had, years ago, I had a spectacular collection of cars. And one of my favorite cars to drive was a Type 57 Bugatti that was worth, probably about $500,000 now. I would tell people over and over again that there was no difference in the pleasure for me for driving my Bugatti as opposed to driving an MGB. It's identical, and so really the price doesn't matter. It's a matter of just having fun.
Why are these still so affordable? I would, Austin Healey's are going through the roof. The MGAs are getting up there. How come these are still, most anybody can get them with a job?
Well, chances are these will remain to be relatively affordable because they really are pretty small. I mean, when you put it up next to a modern car, it's a tiny car. The build quality was very simple, and so they really, I think and from my perspective, I'm glad they're still affordable because they're so much fun.
Yeah.
More people can enjoy them.
The problem I have with these cars is the older I get, the smaller they get.
Yes. Especially the seat, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens. Harry, you're going to do us, the viewers, and I a big favor. There's a mystery I want you to clear up. I'm embarrassed to say I don't have the answer for. I don't get this whole California black plate thing. What's that about? It seems to be a really big deal, and it's in ads, and it's like, what is it and so what? Okay,
well, it really is quite significant. We're really fortunate to be in Southern California. You have a car like, let's say, this MGB. MGBs worldwide are prone to rust. So whether you're in Connecticut or whether you're in England, if you have an MGB, it's going to have rust all throughout. On the other hand, California MGBs, for the most part, are without rust entirely. So the black plate, it's basically a certification worldwide that this car is going to be without rust. So these California black plates, which were issued basically in the 60s, so, all throughout the 60s, there were the black plates, and then we went to blue plates in the 70s and 80s. But for cars like this that have a black plate, that plate alone on this car is worth about $5,000.
Wow.
So, and it's because we're now in a world economy, right, with the internet, and if somebody's looking for one, somebody in England who's looking for one isn't probably going to fly to the US to inspect it. So by that car having that black plate, it's an indirect certification that it's a rust-free car. He doesn't have to fly out, he'll just buy it.
Are there phony black plates being knocked off?
Now that's an issue. Yeah. So what is often happening is that somebody will spend $500 or $600 buying on the internet a black plate that wasn't on a car, and they'll get it registered and spending $500 or so getting that plate on that car and then presenting it as a black plate car. So when, for example, somebody like me, if I'm selling a car that is a black plate car, I need to make sure that, number one, it was a California car, and that either that was the original plate or that, again, it's on a California car. Very, very important.
So the black plate that California plate that I recently found in a junk shop that was in mint shape that I put on eBay that sold for a bunch of money, to my surprise, might be out there helping deceive some buyer on a car?
Unfortunately, yes, and that's why it's, if you're buying a car and you're looking at a California black plate car, you want to dig deeper and find out whether or not, in fact, the car has been in California its whole life, and was that plate on that car from new?
Okay.
Those are very key questions.
I was innocent. It was an innocent mistake.
Oh no, it's okay.
All right. Well, thanks for clearing that up.
Oh, my pleasure. Yes.
Definitely outside of the car community, I think if you said name a really cool sports car, they're always going to say XKE, but we're going to say E-Type. And within the hobby, boy, it's maybe Aston Martin or something's up there higher, but it's way up there. And the lines of these, they're just gorgeous. It's just, perfect.
Yeah. Really, the E-Types, to me, just convey sex and style and design.
And dignity.
Just spectacular.
Mm-hmm. How is this to drive? I've had the pleasure of driving them, and I've good ones and bad ones. So.
This is a particularly nice car. It's the V12, so it's the longer wheelbase. For example, you and I really would have great difficulty driving an early E-Type. This really is much more luxurious, air conditioning, more comfortable seats. It's a 4-speed, and the sound of that V12, it's wonderful. Nothing like a V12.
The cliche of if you have a Jag, you need two of them, so while one's being fixed, you can drive the other one. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, maybe a little bit, yeah. This, for example, is quite happy if the temperature is, let's say 80 degrees Fahrenheit and lower, but above 80 or really difficult conditions, it's pretty unhappy.
What year is this one?
This is a 1973.
73. What year did they get rid of the glass cover?
That was the Series 1, so it would have been in the mid-60s.
Okay. Yeah. Beautiful Bentley here. What year is this?
This is a 1949 Bentley Mark VI. Interesting car. This is what's known as a standard steel saloon. Saloon is British for sedan,
right.
If you will. But what that means is this is really the first time that either Rolls or Bentley produced a factory body. So before World War II, you could only order a Rolls-Royce or a Bentley chassis,
right.
And then they would ship it to a coach builder of your choice and build the body that you wanted. So this is literally, about the second year of the factory-produced body.
How was their build quality compared to the custom coach builder?
Well, so obviously, depending on which coach builder, the quality would be, greater or lesser. I would say it was very good. Because they're steel as opposed to aluminum, there were some rust issues, but in terms of build quality, it was very, very good.
Another cliche, whoever is driven around in their roles by a driver, but their manservant has his own Bentley that he drives around himself. Is there some truth to that?
These Bentleys were pretty much owner-drivers. Limousines and such, where you had the chauffeurs, were more Rolls-Royce, more the larger of the vehicles. So this is kind of the owner-driver, the sportsman's vehicle.
And how sporty are they? What's the motor in it, and how do they handle?
Actually, these are fabulous to drive. If you notice the size, I liken the size to like a 65 Mustang. So it's not really big. So you have a kind of a nice sized car with a very powerful straight six with a beautiful 4-speed that even though it's a right-hand drive car, the stick shift is on the right. So for those of us in the States, the stick is exactly where it'd be on a left-hand drive car. So really just very, very nimble, peppy, very pleasurable to drive.
I have an amateur question for you. How long does it take to get used to driving a right-hand drive on American roads?
Within 10 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, within 10 minutes, especially with the right-hand stick shift. Within 10 minutes, you'd be completely oriented.
Do you get any weird reactions from people when you pull up next to them with the line?
It's always fun. Well, most any old car, but especially right-hand drive.
Yeah, they're looking, and their cell cameras are coming out, and they're
yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's really kind of funny when you're going through a drive-through because then
there's nobody there.
Right. Yeah.
The 49 Bentley was pretty. This is a 48 Bentley. I love the two-tone paint job, but what are the differences between the two?
Okay. Well, so the chassis is really identical. But the difference is that this is not the standard saloon. This is not the factory body as we saw in the 1949. This is it's a coach-built body made by Mulliner. So again, this was basically ordered from a dealer to specify specifically a Mulliner sports saloon body. So although they're very similar, as you mentioned, this really is a very different car. So this is aluminum as opposed to steel.
You can tell the difference in the sound.
Yes, right. And therefore rust is much less of an issue. It's lighter weight by some margin. And it has a unique style that that Mulliner created for themselves.
The market in the recent past, I think most of our viewers are very aware of Barrett Jackson and people like that, and the values have just been a roller coaster ride, and cars that a gull wing that sold for $1 million that you now can get for 600 that you could get for 400 that went
Yes.
The cars like these and values in general, what's your crystal ball say?
Well, okay, so these models, the Mark VI Bentleys, I think these are positioned to be the next cars to increase in value. The reason being is that the earlier vintage Bentleys have all shot up. For example, the pre-war 4.25 Bentleys, you'd be able to find essentially the same car as this for about $25,000. Now they're between $75,000 and $100,000. These, for example, are between $30,000 and $45,000 now. I would suspect that within 5 years or so, they'll increase, about 50%. So these are kind of next in line to have a nice increase in value. That's my crystal ball.
Yeah, the classic car market. We're nuts. I mean, we're just crazy. And part of the crazy thing is I'll see something, and there are a few models of Ferrari that really fall into this. It's like, oh, this is cool, that's not cool. This is cool. That's not cool. That's kind of cool. Oh, this is really cool. And all of a sudden the value goes up, and it's like,
Right.
why wasn't it cool 10 years ago? Why is it cool now?
I know. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we're nutty.
Yeah.
I love orphan cars. Way up in the pecking order of those orphan cars, Packard is, I think Packard and Studebaker in my world fight it out. 47 Packard, a model you don't see very much of, but a 47 Packard, I just think these things are fantastic.
Well, and especially, okay, so this is the very top of the line. So this is a 1947 Packard Custom Super Clipper Club Sedan. And that means it's a two-door. So not only do you have like the total luxury car, but they ordered a two-door. Very, very unusual.
Right.
Earlier you'd mentioned how you would love to have the keys to this. Well, it's good that there aren't a whole lot of people queuing up to have keys for them, because there are probably around 15 that are left in existence.
Of this particular
Yes,
model?
of the two-door Custom Super Clipper.
Straight 8 in this?
Yes, it's just a fabulous 165 horsepower, 356 cubic inch straight 8 with 9 main bearings. And the dealers would, to try to help sell it, they would balance a quarter on the cylinder head and you know, have it stand erect.
There,
This is the last year of a Packard being a full classic, recognized by the Classic Car Club of America.
So, capital C classic.
Yes, exactly. In 1948, in theory, a 48 Packard would have qualified, but the Classic Car Club basically cut it off because of the difference in perceived positioning in the marketplace.
Okay. Well, after we're done shooting here today, if this turns up missing, I had nothing to do with it.
Very good.
All right. You have your Bentleys over there, and you have a Rolls, kind of the American Bentley and Rolls, sort of kind of in the 50s. Imperials, you have 2 of them here. They are Luxo barges. They are great cars, very dignified and stylish. Tell us about them.
I have been so impressed with every Imperial that I've ever had a chance to play with. The build quality and everything, from the simplest things, the door levers and the hood latches are just exceptional. You can tell absolutely that they were designed by engineers. I mean, Imperial wasn't as much about beautiful lines as much as getting the engineering just to be first in class. Most people, they're so misunderstood or almost unknown, maybe they're not even misunderstood, that when you position them next to a Cadillac, the quality and functionality and luxury is right up there, absolutely, with Cadillac, without any question. And yet most people just don't know that much about Imperials.
The sales price back then, were they within a couple $100 of each other?
Yeah,
the Cadillac was just a smidge higher.
Depending on depending on the model,
right?
But yeah, they were neck and neck, and definitely Imperial was going right after the Cadillac market.
Yeah. Out of your whole collection, this is the warm and fuzzy puppy right here, and I mean that in the highest regard. What a cutie pie. What do we have here?
Well, it's a very rare, it's a 1961 Morris Minor pickup truck, except for the color and the wheels, perhaps. This is the way they were made. They were built by Morris as little, commercial vehicles. That's how they were positioned. They pretty much came in gray, different colors of gray, but just a total blast.
When these came from the other side of the pond, but back when this car was new, was in the city of Los Angeles, were there 5 of them, or were there 1,000 of them?
No, you're probably pretty close somewhere. I bet Southern California may have had 20 of them.
Wow, the whole place.
When I was 15, my first vehicle was a Morris Minor pickup truck. Same year as this. This might be it. I've had this for over 20 years.
Reaction from kids. Do children love this?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, kids love it. Women love it. I mean, men. It's amazing. When I had, my spectacular collection, there'd be, Bugattis and Packards and Rollses, and this, and invariably, at least there would be a crowd of women that would rush this and say, "Oh, it's so cute."
So a chick magnet.
It is. It is.
Not
Yeah.
what you'd think.
Yeah.
And this is another case of an example. I mean, this isn't an inexpensive car. You got to pay a couple bucks to get this, but it's not way up there. You don't need a whole lot of money to really enjoy the hobby. I tell people, you give me 10,000, I'll find you a great car, even for 5,000.
5,000.
And I'm not in the business. I don't do that. But it's just an example of there's some really fun stuff out there that you don't have to mortgage the house to get.
Absolutely. I think if you're right. I mean, $5,000, even less, you can get something that is just unbelievably fun. And again, spending $100,000 doesn't increase that fun one bit.
And when you're driving a $5,000 car that's a little ragged around the edges, as opposed to a $105,000 car that's pristine everywhere, one of them you're having fun, and the other one you're just, I hope I don't get a nick. I hope I don't get a nick.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you used the word house earlier. There's a house on wheels over here. It's an interesting part of the hobby. Now let's take a look.
Yeah, sure, great.
A segment. Well, maybe it was another related hobby that has come closer and closer and closer to the car hobby. I love old trailers. I'm really passionate about old trailers. I've been lucky enough to own one really cool one in my past. What do you have here?
Yeah, this I feel the same way actually. This is a 1960 Airstream Pacer, and when I saw this for sale, I had to buy it. It's only 16 feet long, weighs nothing, could be pulled by almost any vintage car.
And the thing that's weird about these is that, in any trailer, maybe regardless of the size, but more obvious in small ones, you look at the outside and go, it's kind of small. You go inside, it seems bigger. You know? I swear you climb in this and it's 20 feet, even though it's 16 on the outside.
Yeah. You're actually when we were speaking earlier, your analogy of a Mini Cooper, it's exactly the same, right? Small on the outside, huge on the inside.
The trailer hobby, where do you think that's going to end up in the future as far as values? And occasionally now, in the past you never saw a trailer at a car show, then you start seeing them. Now there are trailer, and we filmed at one yesterday, they had a separate thing for trailers. Where do you think it's all going?
Well, I think the vintage trailer hobby or the values are going to shoot up. And the reason I believe that is that in the past, up until, Pebble Beach had the first 2 trailers at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance in 2010. There are some other concours that have featured them for the last, several years, but before really 2010, you've had the vintage trailer group and the vintage car group, and the hobbies really never overlapped at all. The vintage trailer people, the demographics are different, where they would be happy to pay $2,500, maybe $5,000 for a vintage trailer, and that's about it. They would only have one, and they would use it regularly. Whereas obviously in the collector car hobby, the values extend much, much further up. It's very common for people to have 2, 3, 10, 20, 100 cars. So now they've literally they're starting to overlap, and the collector car people are looking at something like this and saying, well, God, I mean, to me, that's worth $20,000, and they're happily paying much, much more than has ever been conceived by the vintage trailer people.
Harry Clark, thank you very much for making us feel welcome at your place here.
My pleasure.
All right.
Yeah, it's been great.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for tuning into yet another edition of the Vintage Vehicle Show, and we'll see you again next time. Till then, bye-bye.